What's up, everyone? Welcome to Keepin It Reel. It's just me and Jake today. Say hi, Jake.
What up?
Jordan might join us later, might not.
TBD.
He got caught up at work, having real life problems. Like, what the hell, man?
Fun stuff. Not us. We
who
just get to
does
watch
that?
movies.
Yeah, no. Who actually has to work?
Yeah, who works? What a
Who
loser.
needs to be at work? Like, that's stupid. We're in a pandemic. Just sit at home. We watched Transformers. That was our
Classic.
We've been kind of going through movies of our generation, like what we grew up with. Remember, this was a big one. Definitely have seen it like 17 times minimum. What about you, Jake? What did you think of it?
I always enjoy this movie. I think Transformers is a good time. I know even a lot of the sequels to Transformers get a lot of bad heat, but I mean it's what you expect, really. It's just a kind of a mindless action movie. It's a lot of fun. I always have a good time watching really any of the Transformers movies, at least any of the ones since this one in 2007, right?
Yeah.
I haven't really watched a lot of the old Transformer cartoon. If I don't know if there's movies of that, but
There are. I remember watching the TV show, and I was like, okay, cool. Because there was like a TV show in the 80s, and then they kept redoing it.
I remember watching a cartoon Transformers when I was like a little kid, like Saturday morning cartoons that don't seem to be a thing anymore, but back in the day those were dope. But
yeah, so I watched it there too, and it was watching it for this time around, like we did with Real Steel, when I actually have to sit down and like analyze it.
yeah.
Because I'm the person that has to come up with all the nitpicks and questions, or most of them. Like, you join in. I noticed a lot of problems, and I now understand why everyone got so irritated with this movie.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like same idea with the Real Steel. Like, that's what you expect. Like, that doesn't, and we've talked about this with a lot of movies too. Like, the nitpicks don't really take away from it because it's just supposed to be a dumb, like, kind of sci-fi-ish action movie, really. So
Yeah, and just, it was more of the fact, like, the writing, where like Real Steel was just dumb and cheesy. Where this one, it was like, hey, you're not smart enough to figure out what's going on, so let's beat you over with exposition to tell you everything that's going on. And they do it like 4 times. And I don't remember that as a kid. And then robots start punching each other. It was like, this is what I remember.
That's fair, yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think about that too much. I mean, really, the action is the main point of this movie, I feel like.
And I don't remember it being almost 3 hours long.
Yeah, me either. It was longer than I thought it was.
So long. I started at like 7:30 last night, and I was like, it's like 10 o'clock. I gotta go to bed. Like, what's going on? But yeah, let's get into summaries of the movie. Go. Kid Sam buys a robot alien car. Aliens come down from outer space. They go look for this cube. They find the cube. They destroy the cube. They stay on Earth. I feel like I'm
with
trying
a lot of fist fighting between 2-story tall robots in between all that.
Yeah, and like after that's really the plot of the movie. It doesn't need to be 2.5 hours long. And I think that's the issue with this movie. Is like,
you're right. It's longer than it needs to be.
Yeah, Optimus Prime doesn't show up till an hour into the movie, and I was like,
I thought that was crazy. I did not remember the fact that basically none of the other Transformers showed up until so far into it.
No, and then I didn't realize, like, it's called Transformers, but it should be let's follow Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox around, and they have a robot car. Like, that's more interesting than what, like, that's the title of the movie. Like, I don't care about any of the robots, and I don't remember not caring about the robots. But then again, I was in 7th grade, and I just wanted to watch things blow up. So
yeah, no, that's a good point. You don't really care about the robots except Optimus Prime, just because everybody knows him, and Bumblebee, who's actually in it the whole time.
Why is he a truck? Like, out of
Optimus
out of all the cool things you could do, you're a Mack truck. You're an 18-wheeler Mack truck.
I've always wondered that. I wonder if it's just because, like, the size of the vehicle is obviously going to be correlated to the size of the robot, and Optimus Prime is the biggest robot, so he has to disguise himself as something that's super big. I don't know.
I guess. But
There's not really any other cars that are as big as that. So
be like a crane or something, or a tank.
Crane.
Like that tank that came in, that was dope. Be that guy.
A tank would be dope.
Or be a dump truck. Like, how cool would that be? He is a dump truck and has a shield for an arm. That's awesome.
That'd be okay. I mean, I feel like Optimus Prime as a car, the 18-wheeler, just looks a lot cleaner than a dump truck would, but
who knows? I honestly don't. But let's get into Box Chocolates. Best line in the movie. You got your first one written down.
All right, yeah, I got one here. Okay, so this was just kind of a dumb line that I got a lot of laughter out of. It was 25 minutes and 53 seconds in when all the robots were wait, what was going on?
If they're in the backyard looking for the glasses.
That happened that early on. I might have forgot to change the timestamp.
It definitely didn't happen 25 minutes in, but I know what you're... Because the dad's drinking wine.
I definitely screwed that up because I wrote down a different quote and then I changed the quote and I forgot to change the timestamp. So it's not 25 minutes in. It's much later in the movie than that. When all the robots are standing outside of Sam's house trying to get those glasses, and they're all like trying to hide in his front yard basically and completely destroying the whole yard. And they make the whole house shake a few different times. And the first time, Sam's dad just immediately feels the shaking and goes, "Earthquake! Move, 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 move!" And just runs like 3 rooms away and like hides under the kitchen table while he's like carrying a glass of wine. I don't know how he didn't spill that wine.
That's what I was going to say. I saw him take off. I was like, how did he not spill red wine just all over the floor?
All over the floor, yeah. It totally should have happened. And then all of a sudden, he's just like on his hands and knees, still with his glass of wine in his hand, in like 2 rooms over under a table. And his wife is like, "How'd you get over there so fast?"
With like being from California, like we've been in earthquakes, and they definitely last longer than 5 seconds. So the fact that it's just a little rumble and he's like bolting is hilarious.
I actually have never felt an earthquake. They've only happened like while I was asleep.
They have to be pretty big for you to actually feel them.
Yeah.
Like, I was sitting on the couch for one of them, and I was watching like a basketball game or something, and then my dad comes into our living room, and our chandelier above our kitchen table is swaying. It's like, why is it moving? He's like, "Oh, we're having an earthquake." And he just sits there and he's just holding the chandelier and we're just talking like it's normal. We had like a 4.2 earthquake that night. It was like, oh, okay.
That's crazy.
Like, I think anything over 7 is like when you start really feeling it. And everything else is like after that, it just kind of feels like you're in in a boat and like everything's just going up and down.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because like they put it in like movies and stuff and it's like the whole world opens up.
It's like so crazy and it barely ever happens like that.
Oh, here you go, Jake. We talked about it earlier. The cracking of a can. What a wonderful sound.
It is a beautiful sound.
One of my lines is the 50 years from now, you're going to look back and wonder if you got what would have happened if you got in the car. It's like that line's so dumb. Like I had a harder time finding good lines than lines that was like, these are cheesy. I like them.
But all the good ones could go in the cheese. You want some cheese with that section, but
yeah. And then I think my favorite one that I laughed out loud at when they're all in the helicopter, and it's the guy wearing the Clinton Portis jersey throwback, and then the girl, and they're like, "What did you get in for?" And Shia LaBeouf's like, "Oh, I bought a car. Turned out to be an alien robot. Who knew?" And I was like,
that's a good one.
This is the reason Shia LaBeouf became like the action star for a while, because that was just a great line, and I laughed out loud. I was like, "That's so funny." Do you have any more?
For Box of Chocolate, no, I don't think I do have any others. That's all I got for the best lines of the movie.
They're like watching it, I was having a hard time thinking of lines.
There's not a lot of like really good lines. It's just, you're right, it's a lot of really cheesy lines, and I mean, like I said earlier, it's mostly about the action. There's not a whole lot of interesting dialogue in this one. No,
there's really not. Realized that this time watching it too. Having a movie stuck in your head of like what you remember it being 13 to like 17.
It was way cooler when we were 12.
Yeah. But that being said, the moment, well, we'll get down to it later, but there's a moment that immediately was like, I'm 12 again. Let's get into the real moments, the emotional moments of the movie. I can only think of one. It's when Bumblebee was getting taken and, like, Shia LaBeouf starts taking out, like, trying to tackle all the guys, spraying it with a fire extinguisher. And I was like, that's kind of sad. And, like, they play up the music and they're like, oh, it's supposed to be like his pet. But it's like an alien robot that has thoughts and feelings and can speak and communicate. So I was like, it's supposed to be sad, but I wasn't really sad.
Couldn't really relate to that?
No, that, or like the army people that we haven't mentioned but are there at the beginning of the movie because Michael Bay loves the U.S. military, which I don't blame him. Thank you, military people. But like, they are not necessary in this movie. I'm not watching this as like the military needs to be in this movie. But like, we're introduced to the military before we're introduced to Sam, and he's the main character of it. And
yeah. But I mean, at the same time, like the whole plot was these evil robots trying to steal U.S. military secrets. So obviously they were going to get wrapped into that somehow.
Fair enough. But like his scene where he's talking to his daughter, he's like, I just want to hold my baby girl, and he's talking to his daughter at the beginning. I was like, yeah,
I mean,
okay, cool. That's a heartfelt scene. I don't care because the daughter never comes back up until the very end. So it doesn't really hit home.
It is kind of forced, but at the same time, it does like give a little bit of a backstory, at least, to these military people that we're going to be following for the next 2 hours. So at least there's like a little bit of a buy-in with them too. Like, because if it weren't for that, like, I feel like all those military scenes that are like, you know, straight up going to war with these robots, we wouldn't have cared what happened to them if it weren't for at least a little bit of backstory, you know, to make them human and not just like these random soldiers that we're following.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just really surprised that's where they went with. And like, I would have liked to see the wife more. And like, when they get back and like they send them all home, and then like the wife has that pep talk where she's like, hey, you know how to defeat these things. You need to go back and help. We'll be okay. That would have hit. It would have hit more. I would have been like, all right, yeah, sure. But we have two scenes with the wife and daughter. One where like she's watching the TV, and then one at the end, and that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, like, the movie's already long enough. You don't need to be cramming in extra secondary character backstory when it's not needed.
They could have taken out so much.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and like. They hit us over the head with everything. It's like, hey, you're not dumb enough to realize that they've told us what happened on Cybertron like 4 different times. But we're going to have Optimus Prime do a whole reenactment in front of you for it. Yeah. But
yeah, that's true.
Do you have any real moments?
Not really. I mean, if you're really digging for one, I feel like, and this is one that we've like kind of the same theme that we've talked about with other movies too. Just kind of the I guess the issue is it sort of feels forced is why it's not like a super real moment, but just kind of the, you know, the love interest between Sam and what's her name? Sam and Michaela. Yeah. How it all kind of ends up working out. How, you know, the popular girl likes the nerdy dorky kid.
So
for who he is, I guess.
When you watch this time around, were you like, wow, Megan Fox is a baby in this, and this is like,
yeah.
Were you like really
Shia LaBeouf too?
Were you uncomfortable watching the scenes where like sexualizing like 18-year-old Megan Fox?
A little bit, yeah, but at the same time, the target audience for this movie is not 26-year-old men. It's 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, but like watching it as a 26-year-old man.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it is weird in hindsight, like looking back to that. Yeah,
this is so because she looks like a baby.
Yeah, yeah,
and like it's just awkward, and like the whole she's talking about the engine scene.
Yeah,
and I remember like 13-year-old Mason was all about that scene.
Oh yeah, every 12 and 13-year-old boy was. Yeah,
anyone our age like understands it. And then I go back and I went and watched it now, and I was like,
and now it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. I feel wrong. Like this is not appropriate.
You're right. That was so. I didn't really think about that, but you're right. I did feel kind of weird watching that. And in 7th and 8th grade, I did not.
Yeah, I was like, can this scene like pick up a little bit,
Yeah.
please? Like,
Let's
I
move
definitely
on.
thought she was like in her 20s,
Yeah,
like
same.
mid 20s. No, she's a teenager. Like,
Oh,
she was
yeah.
19, 20 years old. I was like, eh.
Yeah, her and Shia LaBeouf both looked like children in this movie.
Oh my god. And
Which obviously, when it came out, I thought, "Oh, look at those adults."
I mean, she's 34 now. She's almost 10 years older than
Right.
us.
I mean, she's definitely older than us,
But yeah, it's one of those ones where like I'm rewatching it. I was like, I don't feel right. And I know in the second one, I went with a friend and we saw it. And then like her opening shot on the motorcycle, it was like us and a bunch of other 8th grade boys in the auditorium. And we all just started cheering. And like thinking about that now, I was like, how many parents took their kids to this and was like, this
Yeah.
is uncomfortable. I could be that parent, that girl's parent.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, oh my god, this is weird. But I mean, she made a lot of money, so congrats, Megan Fox. But I'm sorry that you got sexualized at 19 years old because that's kind of weird.
yeah.
I feel weird now as an adult. But the golden ticket moment. I have this one just when I think of this movie, I think of the freeway scene. And I will come back to watch the freeway scene when you have that like weird truck with like the anchor arm that comes down and like lifts things up, and then Optimus goes from being a truck to like becoming into his robot full body self, and that other guy comes into a full body, and then he plows through the bus, and like they just start fighting and going through everything on the freeway to like the end of the movie, which is like 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's just the reason I watched this movie. I was having so many issues, and then that happened,
Yeah.
and my brain shut off, and I was like, oh, this is why I like this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, really, the whole. Yeah, that just gigantic fight basically between the Decepticons and the. I don't know what the good guys are called.
Autobots.
Autobots, yeah. The giant fight. You're right. It's like the whole last 45 minutes or an hour or something, where it's just all the soldiers just like fighting in the streets of. That was DC, right? Where that was taking place.
No, I think it was L.A.
Was it LA?
It's supposed to be like, so the Hoover Dam's in Nevada. It's like
Right.
on the Nevada-California border.
Right.
And they're driving back from Nevada. So it's supposed to be like a city in between LA and Nevada, the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, I mean,
Because-
LA has to be the only city of the size that that city was anywhere near Hoover Dam, right?
Yeah, I know, like where they shoot like the big action scenes where you're with the people. I don't know where that is, but like they have the fighter pilots coming in, and Starscream is like jumping and like destroying all of them as a robot. That's downtown LA, and I was like, you aren't
I
in
thought so.
downtown LA at the beginning of this part, but now you're in
Yeah.
downtown LA.
It was confusing.
Yeah, and they
Because, yeah,
destroyed
there was
Dodger
definitely parts earlier that were in DC, and then I thought that baseball stadium they showed, was that Dodger Stadium?
That
I
was
thought
Dodger
it was.
Stadium.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
because Sam's based in LA. He goes to school in LA.
That's what I thought.
The girl, the blonde hair girl that hacks everything.
Works in DC.
And, yeah, and then the
Right.
guy wearing the Clinton Portis jersey is from DC.
Yeah, so it wasn't very clear when they went between LA and DC. I kept on getting thrown off by that.
That's not Michael Bay's strong suit. His strong suit is having giant things blow up. I don't know if you noticed that watching this movie.
Oh yeah, that's what this movie is, right?
Yeah. Watching it, I was like becoming more of a critic. I'm like, oh, I get why people hate this movie. But then 13-year-old Mason takes over. And
I
was
mean,
like,
it's not a work of
"Ooh,
art. It's just fun to watch.
Ooh, look at the robot. He has
Yeah.
a sword in his arm. And I was all for it. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Do you have another golden ticket moment?
Not really. I mean, really, just the fighting, the action. I will say I did enjoy the kind of military fight scenes that were like in the Middle East and stuff. I thought those were pretty cool, fun to watch too. But
I would have been more excited if we stuck with those guys from the beginning and them fighting with it, and then like an Autobot comes in and they fight with the Autobot, and then have that bond of like, we're fighting this villain.
that would have been kind of cool.
That would have been better. The Shia LaBeouf magically getting a car that turns into a Transformer kind of seems far-fetched, but
Yeah, and I actually wanted to bring that up too. I guess if you brought it up, I could bring it up now, or we could wait till the
Yeah, just do it.
So I didn't really get that. Why was it that Bumblebee was like around and going and finding Shia LaBeouf or Sam like so early on, and the rest of the Autobots kind of showed up later?
I don't know. That was a good question. Because, like, Megatron landed in, like, the 1800s.
Right. He's been here forever. So.
And then Bumblebee's there. And then you have the little tiny robot. How long did it take most of them to figure out that the Allspark's there?
Yeah.
Like, it makes zero sense why half of them are there and half of them aren't there, and they're like, let's just show up.
Yeah, that's what they also made a big deal out of the Autobots crash landing on Earth, but they didn't even mention how all the Decepticons got there. Are we just supposed to assume they're just, like, living among us for years?
So, the Autobots destroyed everything, and then the Decepticons, even though they're the bad guys, they perfectly landed in soft fields and didn't tear up anything, so no one knew they were there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Didn't you get the memo of when that happened? Because
No,
that's the only explanation.
They didn't talk
right?
about it at all.
They all landed in the Arctic. Which doesn't make any sense. How does a robot freeze? Like, there's another thing. Like, he doesn't have oil in him. Does he have oil? I don't know.
He would have oil in him.
I don't know. It's an alien robot. Who knows?
Yeah, he would have oil, but I mean, it is supposed to be like a weird like bio robot where they're like alive but partially robot, partially alive. So, I mean, I kind of get that. It's not the craziest thing in the world. I mean, even a robot, I feel like, could freeze over if you're, like, buried underneath the Arctic. Like, that's super cold. The joints and stuff would freeze over with ice.
It's assuming that he hit the ice, immediately went to the water and froze. I don't think a giant robot would freeze that fast. I feel like that'd take a long time to freeze.
Maybe it like crash landed and maybe they have some sort of like unconscious state where they just like crashed too hard and were like knocked out kind of. I don't know. You're right. It doesn't really make that much sense.
No, I think we're trying to dig too deep into a movie that doesn't need us to dig too deep.
You're right.
Want some cheese for that? Cheesiest line of the movie. You have the first line written down, which I also agree with you was the cheesiest line, and I'm kind of pissed you watched this before me because I wanted to write this down. But
right,
go ahead and say
it. We can take joint ownership of this one.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, so it's late in the movie during the big old fight scene between all the Decepticons and Autobots in the middle of downtown LA/DC/ who knows where we are. Bumblebee gets his legs like shot. I forgot what happened to them. Did he just get like blown off by some explosive or something?
I don't ever remember. Like, he just blows up and you see him flying, and then like you don't see his legs falling off, and then all of a sudden he has no legs.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really catch how it happened, but his legs are missing, or at least the majority of them. Yeah,
he's Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump.
Bumblebee becomes Lieutenant Dan, and he's just laying there. And Megan Fox hooks him up to the tow truck and starts driving away with him to, take him off to safety. No man left behind. That's cool. I'm good with that. And then she's like, you know what? We need to get back in the action. So she just flips the Yui, I guess, or throws it in reverse and just goes back the way she came. And so Bumblebee has no legs. He's hooked up to the back of a tow truck. And she's in reverse. So he's basically going headfirst into this battle. And she just looks back at him and she goes, "I'll drive, you shoot." I just thought that was so cheesy because, like, yeah, no shit. Like, that's the only thing that you could possibly do. Obviously, you're not going to be shooting. You don't have giant cannon arms. You're obviously going to be driving. And he has no legs. All he can do is shoot. So what other kind of division of labor do you expect here? That's all that's possibly going to happen. It was just it's so cheesy.
There's so many cheesy lines in this movie that this list could go on forever.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, following that scene, like, right before that, when Army guy Josh Duhamel, shout out to Fergie's ex-husband, gives the cube to Shia LaBeouf and is like, "You're going to run to this tall building and pop the flare." And then Shia LaBeouf's like, "No, I can't do it. I can't do it." Like, you've been running away from robots all movie. You can continue to run to a building. Like, that's not really that hard. And then he's like, "You're a soldier now." It's like, "Oh, shut up. No, you're not. You're a kid that got into in over his head." There's that line. There's this Sector 7 guy with this badge, the do whatever I want and get away with it badge. It's like, oh, God, dude, shut up. Like, I was like, it's funny because that guy is like a renowned actor. And I was like, you're annoying. Just stop. That one was one of the cheesy ones. Or when they're talking to Bumblebee and they're like, you talk through your radio? And then he like starts clapping and all that. That whole scene is cheesy. The little girl when Ironhide lands in the pool and then is like, are you the Tooth Fairy? Oh my God. But yeah. I have more. Like, I could just keep going. But, like, I don't want to because it's literally the entire script of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the whole dialogue is cheesy.
I think one that needs to be in one, she's like, lets me drive your Hummer. And the douchebag guy was like, nah, these are 22s. Like, oh, my God, dude. Shut up with your douchebag Hummer. I hate you. But let's just get into it. Do you have another one? Before I leave that section.
There's too many cheesy lines. I don't want to list them all out.
If we're going to be stupid, let's be smart about it. Any nitpicks or random questions we have that we thought of during the movie. Here's my first one. What's a douchier car than a Hummer?
That's a good question. For a kid in high school, probably not any. I'm
going to go with a Cadillac Escalade, but like the Avalanche version. It's my favorite car of all time, and I will fully admit it's a douchebag car.
Cadillac?
Douchebag car. So, like,
that's your favorite car?
So, it's called a Chevy Avalanche.
Avalanche.
So, that's but the Cadillac version of that. So, it's basically they have a Tahoe, and they're like, let's just take off the back part of the Tahoe, and that's going to be the truck bed. And it's horribly ugly, and I don't know why I love them so much. But they're like my favorite car of all time. And I have looked into buying them like on multiple occasions. But can never find one in my price range.
Shocking.
But it's incredibly douchebag car. And I feel like that's the only other version of the Hummer that's douchier than the Hummer.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like, you put those rims on that Escalade, and you're like, that dude's overcompensating so bad right now. All right.
Something. Who knows what?
We all know what. You have the first question, so go ahead.
Yeah, so this is, I'll start with my biggest nitpick. This is the one that really bothered me the most. Because obviously we're watching like a sci-fi movie, like... It's not going to be completely realistic, but even in sci-fi movies, it really bugs me when the laws of physics are defied.
In a science fiction movie?
Yeah, I mean, still the laws of physics are going to apply in sci-fi. You can't just completely ignore that. A living robot I could get over, but this I can't. So...
I read this and I agree with you wholeheartedly before we go into it more.
So it's when the 4 other Transformers come down from space and crash land in Earth. Obviously, we already talked about Bumblebee's already there before everyone else for some reason. But when the rest come down, they crash land in Earth in their presumably heat-resistant capsules falling from space. So I did a little research because... When I saw this scene, I thought they didn't like make a big enough crash. It was pretty moderate. I mean, they like spread some dirt all over the place and they like partially emptied a pool in someone's backyard, but that's pretty moderate. So I looked it up. Apparently, when meteors or asteroids, I always forget which is which. I think a meteor is when it actually falls to Earth.
I think asteroids in space, yeah, meteors in...
Yeah, so when a meteor or really any space material falls from the outer reaches of our atmosphere onto Earth, typically they fall at around 12 miles per second, which is about 30 to 40,000 miles per second, or per hour, sorry. I saw a couple different sources that said different numbers, so we'll just say somewhere between 30 and 40,000 miles per hour is how fast things fall from space. When they hit Earth, that's how fast they're moving.
You didn't want to do the math for that? You didn't want to figure it out yourself?
Well, I did the math. 12 miles per second is like like 42,000 miles per hour or something, but I saw something else that said 30,000 miles per hour. So either way, that's super fucking fast. That's how fast things move when they hit Earth from space. So the other piece of that is when things fall from that height, moving that fast and hit Earth, typically they create a crater that is about 20 times the diameter of the falling object. So these Autobots falling from space were in capsules that were probably about the size of a car-ish, a small car maybe. They're all wrapped up in their little thing. That would make a massive crater, like 20 cars wide, and they barely made a dent the size of the freaking thing that was falling out of the sky. Like, a couple things they hit was, they landed in Dodger Stadium, like, right next to the stands. That would have, like, completely demolished half the stands, I feel like. And they landed in that little girl's pool, who came out and thought it was the Tooth Fairy. That pool would have been empty. There's no way that there was like barely a splash out of that pool. Like, I've emptied a pool that much from doing a cannonball. It was like 2 inches lower than it should have been.
I think that was Ironhide. I think that was the guy who was like, show me your I just want to show off my cannons. I don't think that was Optimus Prime.
So I also figured out that meteors are typically about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit when they fall through our atmosphere. So if they didn't completely empty the pool from a giant-ass cannonball, it would have evaporated the rest of the water because it would have been super fucking hot.
So I just looked at the dimensions of a Mack truck, which is what Optimus Prime is as you're going through this. So if anyone's watching on YouTube, I wasn't ignoring Jake. I was going off what he said. What Optimus Prime is, he's a 70-inch stand-up sleeper. So that means from the floor of the cab, which has another 3 feet on the ground, it goes up another 70 inches. It doesn't give me how wide the truck is, but I would say it's probably about 6 feet wide.
Probably, yeah.
Give or take. So you're saying...
Same width as a normal car, probably. So, yeah, maybe 5 or 6 feet at least.
Yeah. It's 70 inches tall, 72 inches wide is this truck, and it makes its size 20 times bigger than that. That is literally the entire field of Dodger Stadium.
That's bigger than the pool. But yeah, it's as big as the fucking baseball stadium.
The only thing I have to say is they probably, because they're alien robots, have something that slows them down when they were coming into the atmosphere that makes it a little softer landing than what it was. That would be my logical explanation. Is they're aliens and they have something that slows them down. Even though all of them hit the ground and drag through the ground and makes holes and everything, they were slowing down at some point.
Maybe, but those craters certainly would have been bigger than the size they were. Because the craters that were left were basically the exact same size as the capsule they were in. It wasn't any bigger.
I don't think they were in a capsule. I think it was them.
No, they were in like some sort of like rounded capsule.
I thought it was then transformed into an egg.
Maybe. But if they were just transformed into an egg, that brings up another issue. Because remember, the military people were saying that these Decepticon creatures, the scorpion that they found in the desert, was susceptible to like heat missiles or something. They're not immune to like heat bullets or heat missiles or whatever the hell it is. If they're falling from space without some sort of protective heat capsule, they're getting up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Those fools are melting on the way down. There's no way.
Yeah, no, they're making a mess. They're dead. There's no way they're not dead.
It just doesn't make any sense.
That blew my mind. I didn't even think of that. I don't know if you realize my facial reaction, but my jaw literally dropped as you're saying this. And I was like, oh my God, he's right. Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense. There's nothing that makes sense about that whatsoever.
I mean, like I said, the rest of the stuff that happens with all the robots and everything, it's sci-fi. I could get over it. But you can't defy the laws of physics. I mean, come on.
So, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's really weird and doesn't make any sense. Because, like, they're kind of scientific, but at the a lot of times they're just forgetting things. Like, let's say the little robot that takes out every Secret Service agent on Air Force One. Then he goes after Sam, and he doesn't shoot those weird disc things that killed every agent, but it lets Sam live.
That's a really great question.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the dude just took out 15 Secret Service agents and then turned into a boombox.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, but you don't do that to Sam?
Yeah, you're right. That does not make sense.
But you wrote the next one. I also had a problem with this, and I was going to write it down, but you beat me to it. At the end of the movie, Sam and Michaela are making out on top of Bumblebee. How weird is that you know that thing is alive?
It's a living creature.
You're making out on top of it with every other Transformer around.
Yeah, the other Autobots were like 10 feet away, just like watching them make out on the car.
And Optimus Prime is like, hey, while you guys are about to lose your virginity to each other in high school, I'm going to call out every other Autobot in the world and be like, we're on Earth. We're here to
Attention
stay.
all Autobots, come watch with me.
Are they creepers?
Yeah, for sure. That's so weird.
How is Bumblebee just cool with that? Like, he definitely is opening up his hood. Like, when things are...
Yeah,
like,
seriously, get off me.
Like, they already
creeps.
Mentioned his pheromones that he wants to mate with the girl.
You're right, they did talk about that.
Super weird. But we'll ignore that. He's totally being a cockblock just to be a dick. Because, like... If I'm a robot car and my friends are making out on top of me, I'm gonna be like opening up my hood, like, get off me, go somewhere else, please.
Or throwing on the car alarm or something.
Yeah, or drive away and let them have peace and quiet, and then come back and pick them up. Be like, hey, did you guys have fun? And then continue from there. But
so many better options than what happened.
It was so weird. But my next question has to go with Bumblebee. If I go to a used car lot with an ostrich, which I don't notice if you realize that the used car lot had an ostrich. There's a fucking ostrich in the background when they're looking at Bumblebee. I am leaving that used car lot.
Wait, a real one or like a...
There's an ostrich. There's legit an ostrich.
What the hell? I did not notice that.
And I was watching it. I was like, why the fuck is there an ostrich at this used car lot?
Oh my god.
And it was making me uncomfortable. And it's in like a very tiny box. And I'm like, I'm not buying a car from this dude. Like, I don't care what the car looks like. But, like, you don't buy an ostrich from a guy that has a car from an ostrich dealer. Like, that's just not okay.
That is pretty weird.
Yeah, and then, like, after he gets the car, he doesn't wash the car. Because that car is still dirty as shit when they go to the lake.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I don't care. Like, you were washing that car with, like, every sponge you can find in your house because it's your baby. And he's like, I'm just going to leave all the dirt inside of it. That bugged me so bad.
Yeah,
it's his baby. And then yeah. But did you notice the biatch thing hanging in the window?
Yeah, I did. I like that.
I laughed really hard at that. That was funny. But yeah, no. So you wouldn't buy a car from a car lot that had an ostrich? Because it really bugged me.
I don't know. I mean, I could get over that, I feel like. I don't know.
I'm going to look at it. Do you have the next question?
Let me see here. No, you go ahead. I think you... Yeah, you go next.
Do you know what our defense secretary looks like?
I don't.
So, let's say the scene with the hackers. They're all on the hackers. We keep panning over this incredibly attractive blonde girl. And then all of a sudden the hacker's like, oh my god, that's the Secretary of Defense. Like, shut the fuck up. You don't know what the Secretary of Defense looks like?
Well, that I could understand. She works in DC and she works in the department that has to do with defense. I feel like they would know who that is. That's like knowing what your company's CEO looks like. Like,
do you know what your company's CEO looks like?
Yeah. Or my company's president. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're right. An average American citizen does not know what the Secretary of Defense looks like. But I do know what my company's president looks like.
I took them as average American citizens. Like, they just happened to be
like
the best hackers.
They were working in that field already. And I'm pretty sure they were all government employees already.
Okay. That makes more sense then.
Or at the very least, they were like students, like working to be in that department or that field.
Okay, that makes more sense. Because I was definitely like that. I don't know. The only people I know is the Secretary of State, and I don't even know who our last Secretary of State was, but I knew the three prior, because one was Condoleezza Rice, because I played her in Bush Shootout and Mini Clips games.
That's how you know?
I was like 8, dude.
Oh,
then it was Hillary Clinton, and then she stopped being it, and then it was John Kerry, and then that was it. That's all I know. I don't know who our last Secretary of State was. I kind of
addicting game.
Do you know who our last Secretary of State was?
What do you mean our last?
That's
word?
all I know is the Secretary of State, and then Betsy DeVos for the Secretary of Education, because everyone that's a teacher in my family was not happy about it.
Our last win. The timing of when we're recording this is right on the border between two different.
Trump's Secretary of State.
I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know any of them. I don't know if it makes me look bad or what, but I know Sean Spicer.
Yeah, it definitely does make us look bad. We should definitely know that.
I know Melissa McCarthy was the press secretary, aka Sean Spicer for a little bit, and then Mike Pence was the vice president, and I know Congress, the leader of the House, and the Senate leader. And I feel like that's all I really need to know. But who knows? I could be completely wrong. Also,
that's very possible.
Did you remember everyone you went from first grade to high school with?
You mean like people who were in my classes?
Yeah, like
all
you
the way through that whole
you were
thing?
in elementary school, first grade with them. You had recess with them, and then from first grade to high school, you had all the same schools. So you at least ran into each other or saw them.
Well, I actually went to a different high school than where my middle school was like zoned to go. So no, because I had all new people in high school, but I did know most of the people who I went to like all of elementary and middle school with back in middle school. At the end of middle school, I did, yeah.
So I had a huge issue with this because Michaela was like, "Oh, did you just start at the school when Sam's giving her a ride home after she walks away from the douchebag in the Hummer?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember everyone I was in first grade with because we all went to school with each other for about 17 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I was really annoyed. Like, how do you just not remember the guy if you went to school from first grade to junior year in high school together? Like, you remember him. Like, you may not have a relationship with them, but you at least know who they are.
I agree, yeah.
That was annoying, and it bugged me. I was like, oh, just because she's supposed to be the attractive, popular girl, and he's supposed to be this nerdy guy. It just didn't make sense. I was like, I don't believe you whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was super dumb. Like, you're right. It was just supposed to be like, she's the popular girl. Popular kids never know the nerdy kids. But, you know, maybe that's coming from the perspective of one of the nerdy kids. I knew all the other kids, but I don't know if they all knew me. But
I was in the other category, too. And I don't believe that you were nerdy. I believe you were just quiet. But I would go with, I was popular. I wouldn't use the word popular, but I knew everybody. And it's very hard.
Either way, I don't think that makes sense. Like, you've been having so many classes, and you're right, recess and lunch and all that with the same kid for 10 years.
Even if you're at different grade levels, like when you go to, like, they start placing you in, like, above average classes or average, like the typical classes or below average classes or whatever the range is. You had PE with someone or a general PE class within most of the people.
Or like dances and stuff. Like, you would run into them somewhere.
Electives, like shop.
Yeah,
like,
that too.
You definitely had shop with someone. Or home ec or whatever.
Yeah.
So that drove me nuts.
You're right, that is silly.
I was like, you're just rude. Michaela, that's what I get from this. You're incredibly rude and you just don't remember people's faces.
Yeah, seriously.
Why isn't Sam an NFL kicker? He punted that robot's head so far. I was like, you probably broke your foot because you just punted metal. But 2, you hit it up over a hill and it was still going. Why didn't you just go kick for your high school team as you got your ass kicked?
So I had a similar nitpick to that. why is he not an Olympic track athlete? He was so freaking fast.
No, the problem was he kept looking over his shoulder, so he kept slowing down because I
that's
hated
technique.
watching him
That
run.
can be taught. He has the natural speed to be an Olympic athlete.
Does he?
Yeah, early in the movie, he was outrunning a car who was trying to catch him, and he was running fast as the car. And also, later on than that, biking as fast as a car.
I'll give him the biking one. He was a real Lance Armstrong.
And at the very end, when there's like chaos raining down on the city of LA, he is sprinting full speed at this building that this guy said, "You're a soldier, go take this up to the top of the building." He's sprinting full speed down the street and somehow outrunning all these random people on the streets who are all, keep in mind, running for their lives, trying to get away from these crazy, like, apocalyptic robots raining hell down on their city. They're all running for their lives. Fight or flight would kick in. They would be so hopped up on adrenaline. And yet he's still running twice as fast as every single person in the streets.
It's impressive.
It doesn't make any sense to me. How is he so much faster than everyone?
Plot. I have no I have no response. Like I don't know. It's
either
a good
way
question.
though, this kid's a crazy athlete.
I was like, when he gets the cube after Josh Duhamel tells him, "You're a soldier now, run to the top of this building," and he keeps turning over his shoulder. I was like, there is no way in hell during that scene you're looking over your shoulder to see where the robot is, because you know it's a giant fucking robot that takes 2 steps and has gone as far as you have ran a mile.
Yeah, seriously.
Like, just fucking sprint, dude.
No matter what you do, it's going to get you.
Yeah. Or these robots are just slow as shit. Which might be another thing. Because
you're right. You just got to sprint full speed and hope the other good
you are
robots
just
save you.
beelining it. You don't care.
Yeah.
You might do a little serpentine just in case they're shooting at you to make it harder to shoot. But like, you're not looking back at a robot. You can hear a robot behind you. You know how close it is to you. But you're not gonna be like, "Oh, let me look. Oh, Megatron's right behind me. Okay, I better keep going." Like, it's not happening.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But that one bugged. Also, the next thing that bugged me, because any rational parent, sorry if I offended any parents out there, Sam locks his door. Parents are knocking. Dad starts counting down. He opens the door. He's all flustered. He's a little sweaty. He's really dirty. Talking about his happy fun time, which is a really weird scene that didn't need to be in the movie. And then all of a sudden, Michaela just pops up behind a chair. And then the parents are high-fiving him because she's attractive. My parents would have ripped my balls off and stapled them to a wall. And been like, "You're in this house forever, and I don't care." It's a little more graphic than I wanted to go, but that was the first thing that came to my head. But I'm not leaving the house until I go off to college at that point.
Yeah, that's an interesting. It definitely did play out differently than it should have.
He's late for curfew. There's an earthquake. He then locks the door. He is sweaty. He's jittery as hell.
You're right. His body language totally just told his parents that he was doing something he should not be doing in that room. And then a girl like comes out from hiding. Like, maybe if she wasn't hiding, it wouldn't be as weird. But that's a suspicious scene for sure.
Out of all the places that she's hiding behind a roll-up chair. Like, you can't hide behind that chair. In the most stereotypical high school dude room ever, which is half-naked women on the wall. I didn't have half-naked women on my wall. I was a pretty stereotypical high school dude. Did you?
I think that's only a thing that happens in movies.
I remember one of my dorm mates, before he moved out, he had half-naked girls on the wall. And I was like,
Really?
this is weird. And then he took him down because he moved out. Probably because I was like, dude, that's weird.
That's...
Why do we just have a bunch of, like, I'm cool with it because, like, it was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. I'm not going to complain. But I was like, this is like we're trying to be more bro than we need to be.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knows we're dudes. Just,
You're right. It is like you're going out of your way to like prove a point.
yeah, which was weird. But that just bugged me because I was like, my parents would have killed me. I love them both to death, but rightly so. I lock my door and the girl just pops up behind a chair, and then all of a sudden the parents are just cool with it. And they're best friends with this girl. Like,
yeah, they're like high fiving their son. Like,
yeah, like, oh, she's gorgeous. My dad would have been like, hey, she's attractive, but you know the rules. What the hell are you doing? Like, it just drove me insane because that's just not a normal thing to do. And if his parents were cool enough to, like, not cool enough, but like okay with them being up there, like, that's one thing. But his dad's been a stickler the whole movie. Like, he's not allowed to walk on the fucking grass, but let's just have a girl up there and I'm sweaty and you don't know what the fuck's happening.
To that point, though, I don't think he was like a crazy stickler the whole movie. Like, he went to tell the kid, you're late for curfew, you're busted. And then he came back and Sam's mom was like, you didn't even ground him. And the dad's like, I almost did. I was so close to grounding him. And they both just laughed about it. Like, they really weren't that much of sticklers. Like, they tried to pretend to be, but they weren't.
I guess. It really bugged me.
But you're right. That scene is like a whole nother level of like, that's pretty weird that they're just like giving him knuckles and
high-fiving him.
Job.
Like, oh, what? Way to bring a girl up to your room, bro. Yeah. Like, attaboy. Or like,
yeah, you're right. It's not his fraternity brother. It's his dad.
Like, or the scene where he's like doing his video and then he's like, oh, I have Playboys underneath my bed. I'm holding them for a friend. No, they're mine. Dude, your parents aren't stupid. They know they're your Playboys. Just shut up. Like, I don't care if you're going to die. You're not saying that in your, like, video that you're saying to your parents. No,
you're right. They're like, tell my dog I love him. And by the way, those were my Playboys.
Yeah. That whole box of weird things that I hide underneath my mattress.
Yeah, it's
a box that's like 5 inches tall and like 7 inches wide. And he just shoves it under the mattress like, no one's going to see this. It's like, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Don't look in that.
Like, and under the mattress, it's like the worst hiding place of all time. Like, I've watched SpongeBob. That's where Mr. Crab keeps his money. I'm going to look into the mattress.
Like, maybe under the bed itself, not just like between the mattress and the box spring.
Or the best part, the first hiding place it's in, it's just on his freaking desk shelf.
Yeah, seriously.
It's like, oh,
someone
hold on.
Would randomly just look in that, for sure.
Oh, it's next to my printer. It's no big deal. I just have a bunch of naked women in this box.
Yeah, you're right. That is a terrible hiding place.
So, your best line of the movie, the whole earthquake scene. The dad then goes and looks out the window. And he's freaking out about the yard being torn up. He doesn't realize that it's the fountain that's squished by the robot foot. There's robot feet all over the ground. But he just thinks the yard's destroyed. Like, I don't care who you are, but if you see weird looking markings that kind of look like feet on the ground, you're going to put two and two together.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, I could see the fountain crumbling apart, maybe. Like, that's at least, like, somewhat reasonable to happen from an earthquake. But footprints in the lawn, that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, like, I'll give the path being broken, torn up, the fountain broken, whatever.
Sure, anything cement could break from an earthquake. Fine.
Footprints in the middle of the lawn. 0.
None. At all.
Absolutely none.
I don't think I would put two and two together that it's a giant alien robot, but I would for sure be like, what the hell did you do to my lawn?
I think we've watched enough movies where we'd be like, why is King Kong's footprint in my backyard?
Yeah, where's King Kong hiding? Where'd he go?
Yeah, or like they're like hiding under the window. Like, you're hearing these robots. Like,
probably, yeah.
Or in the Air Force One scene when the boot box becomes a robot. Like, I hear a humming, and I look behind me, like, why is there something humming behind? And this robot's just like, just walking around everywhere.
And not only that, yeah, after the plane emergency lands, and he, like, walks over to that police car and hops in. Yeah. How did no one see him? He was, like, a 4-foot tall humanoid creature walking through the runway during a An emergency landing of Air Force One. How would no one notice that?
He hid behind the Secret Serviceman's leg.
But at one point, he was just walking out in the open, like not even making an attempt. No, I know you were kidding. Okay. Not even making an attempt to hide.
No, I have no idea. There's a lot of things that like they're not trying to hide, and then they just openly do it.
On that scene though, the Air Force One, that was a massive like cargo hold. Is that a normal thing to have on a plane like that?
I think on Air Force One, yes.
I also found it very weird that there was like servers of national secrets sitting on Air Force One.
That seemed find weird the to me. Server part to be fairly believable because there's no way he's not having meetings in an airplane where he has to log into something.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Which, I mean, I had more of an issue that they had the ding-dongs in the fridge. The rest of it's believable. Like, so Ronald Reagan at his library in California has Air Force One, the old Air Force One plane in his library. And you got to walk through it. And that came out around the same time as I was at this movie came out around the same time I went to the library for a field trip. So a lot of it was believable. And then, like, if you look at the plane, it has, like, 2 sets of windows. It has a top set and the bottom set. Mm-hmm. So I assumed the top set is where everyone was sitting, and the bottom set's where the cargo hold was, the meeting rooms were, and that's kind of the planes they used, or they used to use, I don't know if they still do, for, like, international travel. So, like, if we flew from L.A. to, like, England sense. In one shot, that's the plane they use because they have, like, a bar upstairs and stuff so you can go walk around and, like, you're not stuck in a seat the whole time. So it made sense. I don't know how far he was going that George Bush is just sitting on a couch with, like, let me have a ding-dong. But yeah, did you store your ding-dongs or any things like by Hostess in the fridge? Because that, like, really threw me off that the ding-dong was in the fridge.
I did not know, but apparently George W. does.
Yeah, because that was, like, I was really irritated with that. I remember being irritated with it as a kid, and I watched it again, and I was like, that's just weird. Who does that? So, like, anyone listening in the audience who's like, I stick my ding-dong in the fridge, which, one, I don't need to know that. But, two, if you're talking about the pastries, please let me know in the comments or, like, message us. I want to know. And be like, why do you do it?
We want to know about your chocolate treats that you put in the fridge.
Not your actual ding-dong. So, I have one more question.
All right. What is it?
Should Michael Bay do all the Army commercials and National Guard and Navy and Air Force commercials?
Because it's not a bad idea.
I was watching this and I was like, he makes me want to join the military. Like, the whole scene where they're in that big plane that's like the base and it has like the weird thing on top of it. I don't really know what the plane's called. But when they're doing, like, they're flying the drone in that plane. You know what I'm talking about?
That little like disc thing up at the top?
Yeah, it's like a satellite for something.
Yeah, I assume that was some sort of like radar or something or other. I don't know.
And like he's like flying around sideways and another plane's like flying sideways and like shooting down at the Scorpion robot. And like all the people like jumping in their planes. I was like, this one makes me want to play Call of Duty super bad.
Yeah.
Like I really wanted to be in the chopper gunner and be like, yeah!
Well, that was a C-130, right? That's like a 12 kill streak right there. That's a privilege to be able to use one of those in Call of Duty.
I never got to a 12 kill streak unless Andrew was playing for me, and then he would just hand me over the controller so I could keep killing people.
So you could finally get to use an AC-130.
Yeah, like I never in like Modern Warfare 2, I never got the nuke. I was never good enough to get the nuke.
Me either, man. I never even came close.
I got an attack dog one time and I lost my mind.
Hey, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I was really pumped. And that was like after 6 months of playing Call of Duty.
And then somehow it's the one time that attack dogs gets you like 2 kills and you're like, wow, that was fucking great.
Yeah, because everyone kills the dogs right away and I was really upset. I was like, wait, why'd you kill little Timmy? He's just
How come these dogs kill me like 4 times every time they come and I get 2 kills out of them?
I was irritated.
Call of Duty, man. That shit's frustrating.
But yeah, we make fun of the Army commercials constantly. Like, we were watching baseball this year, And they had the Army commercials for them saving people in Houston during the hurricane, which is a horrible disaster, don't get me wrong. But the commercial is absolutely terrible. You're telling me Michael Bay just showing Army guys jumping out of a plane wouldn't be more cool than any trailer commercial that the Army does now?
Yeah, those military commercials, they don't have a great advertising wing, it seems like. I don't know. Obviously, they got bigger fish to fry, but you're right. That's not a bad idea. Get Michael Bay in charge of that.
Because he wanted to make me join the military. I was like, this looks dope.
I mean, I feel like a lot of war movies, that's kind of what they're going for, right? Like, obviously, that's more building entertainment out of it than, I don't know. That's an interesting idea.
Because, like, it was mainly just those fighting scenes in the desert. I was like, I want to fly a drone.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. Put an action movie director in charge of making some of those ads.
Just Michael Bay loves America and loves the Army. I don't know if you noticed his random American flag that comes out of nowhere. It doesn't need to be in this movie, but it's there. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, America. I was all for it. But he loves the military, and they're like, the military is literally in every one of his movies. Like, I don't know if the military is not in one of his movies.
I didn't know that.
What
are some other movies by him?
Armageddon, which they name dropped it in this movie.
Oh, really?
Which I now realize Armageddon and Transformers are in the same universe.
Really?
Which kind of blows my mind, because the kid that is filming that building that's going up, and he's like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened. Yeah. It's Armageddon. So he does Armageddon. He did 13 Hours, which is also pretty good. He's done The Rock.
Is that the one with, what's it?
Jim?
Roy and Jim from The Office?
Yes. Which is really good.
I haven't seen that one. It looked good, though.
I don't know if we can do a podcast episode on it, but it is worth the watch.
All right, good to know.
I don't really know how to talk about something that happened with real people. So if anyone's ever wondering like why we haven't done something that's happened with real people, it's because I don't know how to make jokes about that. It's a horrible.
Transformers wasn't real?
I don't know. It could be. But yeah, so Armageddon is about oilers learning how to be astronauts, or oil drillers learn how to be astronauts, and they find outer space and they blow up an asteroid.
Armageddon is?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they have like a classic commentary with Ben Affleck and Michael Bay. And like the director's commentary is when they watch the movie and the director will comment on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Bay and Ben Affleck are doing it together. And Ben Affleck goes to Michael Bay and he's like, why didn't you just teach astronauts to be oil drillers instead of oil drillers to be astronauts? It seems like it makes more sense. And Michael Bay just tells him to shut the fuck up. And that's the end of it. That's all that they say in the whole thing. And I'm like, it's like one of the most famous like director commentaries, is because it's like a very logical question and Michael Bay's just like, shut up. But it's that he does the Bad Boy movies, which are really fun.
I haven't heard of that.
You've never heard of Bad Boys with Will Smith?
Maybe I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
You definitely have, because you heard the song Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From that movie?
The song's from the movie.
Okay. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
We should do it because it's a fun movie. They're really fun.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just what he does. Action movies that are pointless and dumb. Make you love America. Slightly racist, but don't really think about it when you're watching it as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. As a 13-year-old, you don't.
No, and then that's like, he brings out your inner 13-year-old. And I think he gets too hard of a time because he's like, his movies have no substance. I don't think he's going to have substance.
Yeah, I mean, every movie doesn't have to have substance.
No. This is like
entertainment. That's not why we watch movies all the time.
No, this is definitely like the last. So they have 6 Transformers movies. This one, and then
there's that many. I did not realize. Yeah. I thought there was like maybe 3 or 4.
No, there is 5 Transformers movies that are called Transformers blah blah blah. And then
how many of them have both Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox in them?
Shia LaBeouf's in 3 of them. Megan Fox is in 2 of them. Mark Wahlberg's in 2 of them. And then Bumblebee has his own movie called Bumblebee that explains why he landed on Earth before the rest of them. Which is actually a really good movie. It's really like heartfelt because Bumblebee in the cartoons is a bug, a Volkswagen bug. So when the Camaro pulls up next to that yellow Volkswagen bug, it's an homage to him being the Volkswagen bug. But like Chevy threw a bunch of money to the studio and be like, "Hey, we have a Camaro coming out. We want you to put this in your car." Commercial.
Capitalism. That's what it gets you.
Fucking love it.
Cooler
Also,
cars.
The product placement of everything in this movie was awesome. Like when she pulls out the card that she puts the sound on, it's like Panasonic, or the Mountain Dew, like the Mountain Dew vending machine that starts shooting bottles at people, which was terrifying.
That's a terrible vending machine to get hopped up on, whatever the hell that cube was. That's like a double whammy. That crazy cube mixed with Mountain Dew. Whew, you don't not want a part of that.
No, how bad would getting shot with a 20-ounce bottle of Mountain Dew hurt? I was watching that, and it was like, phew. I was like, oh, just imagine a 20-ounce bottle of the ribs. Like, you definitely crack one. I'm just laying on the ground. Like, I'm dead. I'm done. Don't shoot me again.
You know what? That does bring up one other thing I forgot to write down I wanted to ask. The thing I don't get about that cube that transforms these electronics into robots, basically. Like, for example, that cell phone that they put in that little box in the middle of Hoover Dam. It transforms into this little robot who, like, suddenly pulls out a machine gun and, like, starts shooting the inside of the glass. The thing that kind of bothered me about that is it's, like, creating stuff out of nothing. Like, where did the bullets come from? Or I kind of get the idea of, like, these machines transforming into robots, but it, like, creates bullets out of nowhere. Like, there's no bullet components or, like, explosive powder or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't really get where all the things come from. Like, if you're gonna have a vending machine shoot 20 ounce bottles of Coke at someone, sure, that makes sense. I could get behind that, but where do bullets come from?
I don't know. That's like, why do all the robots have bullets? Like, where do the plasma cannons come from? How are they shooting out plasma? I feel like it's just we're supposed to just believe it's an alien cube.
Well, that's not as crazy because, like, they came from space. Who knows what was on them when they came here? But, like, this phone was trapped in a box, and then it transformed into a robot that had bullets all of a sudden. Yeah. That's a little weirder to me.
No, it's very weird.
Or maybe these other robots have technology on them that somehow creates this plasma things out of molecules in the air or something. I don't know. There's weird sci-fi explanations for that I could at least, like, look past, but
I got no answer for you. I have no idea. It's that's a good question.
Nitpick. I didn't think you'd have an answer because it doesn't make any sense. There's no logical answer.
I wanted to say he's shooting keys at people, like it's the Nokia phone, and like the little keys he's shooting at, but like it's really bullets. So I got nothing. I have absolutely nothing, but that's my logic for it.
Yeah, that's all right. So he's just like shooting little pieces of itself out. So eventually, it would just like either disintegrate itself or run out of ammo.
That's what I got at.
All right, sure, okay.
Because there's a lot of hard drive in there that they don't need. Like, you think of all the circuit boards that are gone now because it's a sentient robot.
Just like little pieces of solder or something.
Yeah, just shoot those at people.
All right.
Let's rate this movie. What do you have to go with it as?
So remind me, we have Instaclassic as 5.
Instaclassic the highest. Then you'd buy it in a bargain bin.
Is 4?
Or pay. You'd at least pay for it.
Okay.
3, the middle one is you'd stream it if it was available. The second lowest one is you'd leave it on if it came on TV. You wouldn't change the channel or remote instead. And then the last one is I'd rather watch paint dry.
I'm kind of on the fence between 2 ratings. Somewhere between I'd buy it in a bargain bin and I would stream it if it's available.
Really?
I mean, like I said at the top of the episode, I'm a big fan of Transformers. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, obviously there's a lot of issues and plot holes and the dialogue is not that complicated or interesting, but it's a fun kind of mindless movie to just throw on and watch some cool action. There's some really good fight scenes in this movie, and I don't think the special effects are bad either. Like, it looks cool. It's cool to look at, and it's fun to watch. So I think it's pretty high up there. I enjoy this movie a lot, and I always have enjoyed all the Transformer movies I've seen. I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen...
They start getting real bad.
That's what I've heard. I've seen maybe the first 2 or 3, and I've enjoyed all the ones I've seen.
I rewatched 2 a while back. And 2 is really bad, and I understand why everyone hates it. We were in the Megan Fox is on screen and half closed.
Back when she was actually older than us.
Yeah, we were blinded to a lot of it.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's been a very long time since I've seen the second or the third one.
Yeah, the third one's okay. It's a little far-fetched. That's saying something for a movie about robot aliens. The fourth one is terrible, but it still has fun moments because the robots turn into dinosaurs, and I'm all for Optimus Prime.
I have not seen the dinosaur one.
Yeah, Optimus Prime rides a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
That's dope. I want to watch that.
I was all for it. The fifth one is horrible. It's like one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. They changed the aspect ratio of the screen. It goes from widescreen to IMAX to widescreen, and it just does it between, like, if we were talking right now and then my next sentence, it would change it instead of like...
That's so annoying.
I never know. Like, someone pointed it out to me, and that's all I saw. And I was like, this is distracting. Like, it is... And, like, I was watching it, and I was like, what's distracting me? And then someone asked me if I noticed the screen getting wider and narrower and wider and narrower. Because it'd be, like, the same scene, and it changed the aspect ratio, like, 4 times in the same scene.
That is so weird.
Oh, it's awful. But, like, where Christopher Nolan does it in, like, The Dark Knight, when, like, they do an action scene, it's an IMAX, so the whole screen folds. But when they're just talking, it goes that, like, down normal, which is how you're supposed to do it.
Understand, yeah.
Yeah. But this one is just like Optimus Prime is like punching someone, and then one scene is like widescreen, and the next one is IMAX, and like you see more of them. I was like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, that's weird. That's annoying.
And then Bumblebee is way more like, it goes back to more of this one, where it's a little more grounded, a little more realistic, and then you're like, okay. Bumblebee is just a lot of fun. I was expecting a really bad movie, and it was actually just an enjoyable movie. It's kind of like Real Steel. It's not the best movie you ever watched, but it's not bad.
Which one's that? Oh, the Transformers Bumblebee one.
It's just called Bumblebee.
You know, one thing I will say I really liked about this movie, and I feel like I kind of maybe brought this up with National Treasure. I really enjoy this kind of general theme in movies, is when they introduce some sort of, like, obviously made up. Oh, maybe it's not made up. Who knows? This made up explanation of some historical event. Like, for example, they basically said in this movie that the Hoover Dam was built essentially as a vault to contain this crazy discovery that we made in the Arctic. Like, I think that's so interesting. Like, I mean, obviously it's not real, but it's a cool way to put like a weird, like, kind of twist on some real historical thing that happened into the universe of whatever the movie is. I always enjoy that kind of thing.
There might be aliens in the Hoover Dam. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It's possible, but certainly unlikely.
It's not like it just powers a bunch of the West Coast with power, but it has aliens instead. There's no electrical thing that powered the whole West Coast.
Well, I mean, it does both is the point. I mean, what a great way to convince the American people that you need to pay for this thing is that it's going to provide a shit ton of power. But it also happens to be a vault for this crazy alien robot thing that we have.
Yeah, that's
cool.
A good point.
I like it.
I do like that, where it, like, revises history. Those are cool.
Yeah, it, like, revises these crazy big historical things to, like, fit the universe that they're making the movie in. I think that's always kind of interesting. And especially when it comes to, like, government secrets, because it's like, obviously the average American person is not going to know these government secrets. It very well could be the case. Who knows? Maybe the Megatron is in the Hoover Dam.
That'd be awesome. I would totally sign up for that.
Yeah, that's cool. I always like that kind of thing in movies. And I mean, National Treasure kind of did that. Maybe not as much with the. I mean, a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence is obviously a pretty big deal, but I feel like they did it more with the second one with like Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, it's still cool.
Yeah. I would have to rate this one. I would leave it on or stream it. It's like right in that sweet spot. I got to be in the right mood to stream it. But if like it's on TV at some point, I'm like, ooh, we're getting close to the freeway scene. I'm going to watch it for the freeway scene. But like, it was way too long.
It was very long, yeah.
It made me feel really dumb that they had to explain everything to me. It's like, I don't need you to explain so much to me. And then, yeah, that was kind of it. It was just those two things were really bad. And I was like, you are giving me a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessary. So, like, it docked it a little bit for me, but it kind of is where I assumed it would be. It is right in between. I would go out of my way to stream it. I would go on YouTube to watch the highway scene, and that's probably it.
That's fair. Watch the highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what this movie is about, is the highlight action scenes.
100%.
Some of those cheesy lines that we brought up are actually kind of funny, too. So
I did laugh at Tyrese when they're trying to get the wallet. And there's like, it's in your back pocket. You got like 15 back pockets.
That one's pretty funny.
That one's on my left cheek, left cheek. That's a very realistic response to what's going on in that situation. You're just screaming at everyone. Like, yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much covered everything.
Agreed. If you're on YouTube, check the description. If you want our letterbox, Instagram,
give it a like.
Send us an email.
Subscribe.
On listening to Apple Podcast or on Spotify, subscribe, rate, review. Let us know.
Please give us a review. A good one.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us this week. Next week, I think we're doing a new movie. Yeah, next week is going to be a new movie that's coming out. The Little Things. HBO, starring Denzel Washington and Robbie Malek, comes out the Friday the 29th. We'll be watching it, giving you a review of like a movie that's more realistic coming out. And then going into February, we will be hitting a romantic movie month because it's Valentine's Day. And we'll have a special guest the first week. So stay tuned for all that. Anything else you want to say, Jake?
No, I think you got it. Got it covered.
Yeah. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Remember to keep it real.
Keep it real. Peace
Talk to you
out.
next week. Bye-bye.